Hello, and welcome back to RPG Maker MZ. Today, we'll be taking a look at orb puzzles. Let's just demonstrate what's going on here. So I'm in a dungeon here. We've got these barriers. This is a dark red barrier, this is a light red barrier. And we've got a light blue down here as well. So if I pick up this dark red orb, I'm able to walk through the dark red barrier, but I can't walk through the light red one. Okay, let's pick up a light red orb. Still can't walk through the light red barrier. So let's drop the dark red. Well, I can go through light red now. So as long as you're holding the orb that matches the door, you can go through it, as long as you're not holding the orb, the other orb of the same color. So we've got one light orb and one dark orb for each one. Grabbing these blue orbs makes no difference for red. So I come down here. I can't go through light blue, so if I want to go through light blue, I've got to drop the dark blue and pick up this dark red. And just like that, you can see that I managed to get the dark red orb to this location, even though I needed to go through these light red doors to get there. So we can kind of leapfrog our way across, and a big part of this sort of puzzle is knowing when and where to drop orbs so that you can find a different route to them to pick them up again. So it's pretty cool. I think this is, as far as maze puzzles go, this is a lot more interesting than just walking through passages. And it's really simple to implement, which is nice too. For Dungeon 2 and 3, I also will be adding green orbs. So there will be 6 orbs in total, which is some added complexity there. But let's just get into this. So we need items. Obviously, we're going to have 2 orbs for each color. So we check my database here. And these are actual items in the that you can get in your inventory. Didn't bother writing descriptions for these, apparently. Okay. This stuff doesn't really matter, but you're going to want it to be accessible from menu. And not be consumable, I guess. And it's going to have a common event that's going to determine how it drops. Variables. We have 4 variables. We have a region ID, which we've used before, item ID, and players X and Y variables. And all of those are used for this dropping script. We don't actually need it for the implementation. So if you want to have it something similar to this where you aren't dropping orbs, you don't actually need any of these variables. And finally, we have the common event. So let's take a look at that. Well, let's... You've seen what it does. It allows you to drop an orb. Let's just start with the common event. And then we'll go on to the orbs and the doors. So first thing that we want to do here is, well, this is optional as well, but probably a good idea. We're going to get location info, region ID, and we're going to get the region ID of, not direct designation, of the player. So this is the region ID of our current tile. I guess I never showed this when I was doing the demonstration, but all of these doors are region 1. And the reason for that is because I don't want the player to drop an orb on the door, because that can make the puzzle impossible to solve. As long as they can't do that, it's going to be impossible for the player to get themselves stuck, because they can always pick up the orb and try again from where they are. So that's what this first part of this event is going to be. So region ID of the player. If this region is 1, which is to say if we're standing on a door, conditional branch, if region ID equals 1, then we're going to show some text. You cannot drop an orb here. And exit event processing. So this just means that everything else that we write here will not happen if you are in region 1. So not dropping anything, just stop. Don't do anything else. Now we need to get the player's position. So in order to do that, we're going to control variable, and we're going to go player X, and we're going to set this to game data. This is kind of in a weird spot. Character, I feel like character... Like, I mostly use this for event locations, so I feel like event would be a little bit more clear here. But regardless, we can do it this way. So we're going to look at player map X, and that's going to set the player's current X position into this player X variable. Let's just copy that and go to Y. And now we have the player's coordinates, X and Y. Finally, we're going to do one more, and this time we're going to change the item ID. Game data, last used item ID. If you're new to RPG Maker, I highly recommend just going through this entire game data category, because there's a lot of stuff you can manipulate in here, and it's kind of good to know about what your options are. Alright, so what's this going to do? Item ID equals last used item ID. Well, if we use an item in our inventory, such as one of our orbs, the item ID, which we can find here, so light red orb is item 6. So if we use a light red orb, item ID will equal 6. That's what this is saying. If we use a dark red orb, item ID will equal 7. Alright, so finally, we need a conditional branch here. We're going to, if item ID is equal to, and this is constant 6, this was our light red orb. Again, items, light red orb, just making sure we're doing this properly. So if we have a light red orb, then what we're going to do is change our player items. We're going to take this light red orb and we're just going to subtract 1 from the player's inventory. And then we are going to set event location for our light red orb. And we're going to designate with variables and place it where the player is. So player X and player Y become our X and Y. And just like that, we have an event that will it'll handle the orb being selected from the menu, and it'll drop the orb while removing it from the player's inventory. And because the event itself is going to be an event on the page, on the map that we can pick up, this will allow us to re-pick up that orb. Now, this looks fine here because I'm in Dungeon 1, where I already have these events initialized. But if I go to this Orb Mazes tutorial and do this again under Common Events, well, this looks a little bit weird now. This event, yeah, there's nothing underneath this. So because we are using a common event, we're actually going to have an issue here where it's going to be looking at our event ID, which means that if you have multiple dungeons and you're going to have the same orbs in all of them, you're going to need to make sure that this event ID is the same in all of the maps that are using this sort of puzzle. Now, you can manually reorder these events. I think you can't, yeah, okay, I was just double checking, you can't drag and click, but what you can do is, for example, this transfer, which is number 5, let's say I wanted this transfer to be event number 1. Then what I could do is I could take this event, copy, paste, take the original event, delete it, take this event, copy, paste, and delete. So it's a little bit cumbersome, but as you can see now, this transfer event, and then we can drag them into their old positions. So this transfer event is now event 1, and our light red orb is now event number 9. Now obviously we don't want to do that, so let's... Whoops, I guess this is why I have to do, can't do cut, so we'll do that. Just quickly reset it. And this is 5 and light red is 1. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. So yeah, like that, you can manually readjust these event IDs. It's a little bit cumbersome. I think as far as you are forewarned though, you can just keep in mind that if you're doing something like this, I recommend putting them at the very front. It'll just be easier to find them because these are the only events you care about. So for Dungeon 2 and 3, it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 with my green orbs in there as well. Will all be the orb events. And then I'll worry about these transfers and these doors afterwards. But that's just something to keep in mind. All right, so we have our, if item ID equals 6, then we'll change this, and this will set the event location of event number 1. And you can see event 2, event 3, event 4. That all works just fine. Okay. So, we're starting with the orbs, as I said, so let's create the orbs. Now, these orbs and these doors are incredibly easy to make. You can see there's a ton of do-nothings in here. This is wonderful. This is also kind of exciting for me personally, because this was way easier to implement than I thought it would be, and as I was trying to implement it, I kept coming up with ways to simplify the process, and everything just worked. Which doesn't always happen. It's not my experience with programming. Generally, when you're experimenting, things go wrong, but in this case, everything was good. So that was a nice change of pace. Alright, so we're gonna name the event, because that makes things a lot easier. Light red orb. And I believe this was under crystal? No. Yes? Other? Other, okay. So I'm using this one. We're just going to get rid of all of these so that it doesn't animate and go between light and dark. Same as characters, that's fine. No, it's not. We want it below characters because they have to walk onto it to pick it up. Alright, so this is our light red orb. And when we hit the action button, we are going to change our items. You have gained 1 light red orb. Excellent. And then we're going to show the text on this as well. Oops. So received. This is a color code. Putting a \c and then a number in here will change the color of all the text going forward. So we'll put light red orb, \c back to white, which is 0. And then we're going to put an item code in here as well, and in this case I have it written down. 162 is what we want. So if we preview that, you can see 3 is this green color, and then this is the icon that we selected for the orb, and that you can just check by going into your database, items, light red orb. This is icon, so we have to go here, icon 162, and that's how you can see where that number is. Alright, so that's the first page, and that's all we need, honestly. Then we go new event page, and in this case we'll look at item, light red orb. If we have a light red orb, well, do nothing, just get rid of the event. So here we gain a light red orb, and then it'll go away immediately. So let's just double check that this is working. Always test your code, make sure you haven't screwed anything up. It disappears, received light red orb, and if we go to our items, we have a light red orb in the inventory. And actually, this is event number 1, right? So if I click this, our common event works. And if I move, and item, drop, yeah, everything is working just fine. One detail I neglected to show you, which is very important. Here, common event. So the effect of this when we play it, again, this is another thing, if you're new to RPG Maker, I recommend looking at what your options are here. But we're going to go common event, drop orb. That. And that's how you get an item to call a common event when used. And yeah, we're just going to use that one, which already has everything for dark red, light blue, and dark blue. This is the same process as before, just changing a few important things, which item is affected, which event ID is affected. But this is all the same, so we actually don't need that. That's fine. Alright, so there's our light red. Well, event number 2 is going to be a dark red. I'm just hitting space to edit the lines as I go here. So dark red, edit, and then here we're going to change this to dark red as well. The icon is the same for both of these items, so that's fine. And then here we have a dark red orb. Get rid of this event. Copy, paste. This time we're going to do blue, light blue, change items. It's going to be a light blue orb. Light blue. I believe this is 165. It is. Okay. And here, light blue. And finally, let's just go with our dark blue here. And one more dark blue. Okay. So we should have 4. Let's just make sure that everything is working the way we expect. So we step on this, light red orb, dark red orb, light blue orb, icon changed, dark blue orb changed. If I go to my inventory, I can access any of these. Let's put down dark red. Let's put down the light blue, light red, and I'll put dark blue here as well. So we have 2 orbs here. This is okay. You'll just pick them both up at the same time. Alright, so that's the 4 orbs done. Excellent. Let's go on to the doors. Now, the way I'm doing visual distinctions here for the doors is I'm using these 2 tiles. So let's just do one of each. It's going to have light, dark, light, dark. And we want to go to region. And these are all region 1. So we can't drop an orb on a door, because if we were able to do that and then step off and then step on it, we can't step back on. No, pick up light red, drop it on light red door, step off, we can't pick it up ever again, and we can get ourselves stuck, which is not good. So we will just put those regions in there, and then our common event will say, hey, you can't do this. And in fact, we can just test that even before we make the doors. Just prove that that's working as intended. So let's go dark red, sure. Want to drop it anywhere, it doesn't matter. They're all doors. You cannot drop an orb here. But if I go outside, it's fine. Okay. So here, we're going to have a new event. This event is going to be our light red door. Image. Sci-fi 2. Yes, this is what I was using. Go with that. So here's our light red door, and it's going to be do nothing, do nothing, do nothing. Super easy. So first level, same as characters. Okay, this is an obstacle. So as it stands, we cannot walk into this. New event, well, make it even easier. Copy. And we'll just paste this twice. So on page 2, we're going to go below characters. This means that this is no longer an obstacle. The player can walk over it. The situation in which this is no longer an obstacle is when we have a light red orb. Also, actually, I'm just going to take out this walking animation. I don't think that's going to do anything, but just to be safe, I don't want it to change. I want the image to be static. Alright, and then third page. Again, we're going to have, if we have a dark red orb. Now with multiple event pages, what will happen is that the game engine will always use the highest number page that you meet the requirements for. So in this case, if I have both a light red and a dark red orb, it will go to page 3. Page 3 is same as characters, so this becomes an obstacle. The light red door does not work if you have a dark red orb. Even if you have a light red orb, does not matter. Dark red orb says no. Alright. And yeah, we'll test this. Always test. So here we have a light red orb. Yeah, I can no longer... Light red door, can no longer walk into it. Let's pick up this. Easy. Let's pick up this. Nope, can't go through it anymore. Drop dark red. I can go through it again. Alright. So yeah, door is done. Super easy. Copy, paste. Change this to dark. Dark red, we will do page 1, don't have to change anything. Page 2, we want dark red lets us pass. Page 3, light red does not let us pass. Alright. Copy, paste. Light blue door. Light blue lets us pass. Dark blue does not let us pass. Finally, our dark blue door. Dark blue lets us pass. Light blue does not let us pass. Yes, change, save the changes, and test one more time. Alright, so dark red lets us through here. Can't go through anything else. Let's grab light blue and go through here. Can't go through the other ones that don't work. Dark blue. Oh, can't go through. But if we drop the light blue, now we can, but it's still, yeah. Okay, so everything seems to be working more or less the way it should. And that is it. That is how you make an orb maze. I'm going to do one more thing. The way that this is set up here, it's impossible for the player to get stuck because we didn't let them drop on the doors. However, the player may wish to just reset the room anyway. And so I'm going to create one more item here. This is just going to be the reset item, whatever it is. We're going off script. Anything can happen now. And we want a graphic for this, I guess. Sure, this can be our reset item. And actually, before we get into any of that, under database, items, change maximum, we'll increase it by 1. Reset orb puzzle. You can come up with a better name if you want to. We made it a staff kind of thing, didn't we? Okay. Use to reset the current. This is a key item, just because all of the items that are usable in my game are key items. I disabled everything else. So usable from the menu. Alright, and this is going to be a common event. Change maximum back up to 8. Reset orb puzzle. Alright, now that this exists, we can go back to item, fix this up, common event, reset orb puzzle. Okay, from here, if the player uses this, it just resets. We're just going to assume automatically. You could give a choice. Are you sure? Yes, no. We're not going to worry about that. Control variable. Item ID is... Well, this is actually pretty bad. We should probably, for the sake of clarity, have a different item here. We're going to have a map ID. Game data, other map ID. Good. So this variable is going to be set to our current map ID, which if you look here, this is, doesn't actually show, but if I hit space, map ID 24. While I'm here, let's just change item. Self-switch A is on, new event page, self-switch A. Okay. So that way, we move here, we pick it up, it disappears, so we can't do it anymore. We can never drop this one. Alright, so reset orb. First thing we do is we grab that map ID. Then we want to go conditional branch. If variable map ID equals, was it 24 24? Was that what it was? 24, yeah, okay. And the reason we're doing this is, again, if you have multiple dungeons, the first thing that we're doing is we're checking which dungeon are we currently in. Then we're going to change items, and because teleporting the player could mess things up, I think what we're going to want to do here, I don't know if you can have negative items in this game, just in case. Let's just do this. If party has light red orb, we're going to remove light red orb by 1. This way we're not going to get any errors for having negative orbs in our inventory, which might do weird things if the game lets you do it. And I guess we could do this with the greens as well. I didn't create the greens here, but it's not going to matter. Because we have these if statements preventing that from causing any issues. We don't have the green orbs, then nothing happens. Okay. So this part here is just checking to see if we have any orbs, and if we do, it gets rid of all the orbs. Finally, we're going to, well, we have 2 more things we want to do here. Set event location for light red orb. And this is why we're checking the map ID. So this is where the light red orb is on this map. Oops, space, not double click. Dark red orb is here. Light blue orb is here. And dark blue orb is here. Okay. And then finally, transfer player to, and again, retain, that's fine. Transfer player back to the start, whatever we define that to be. And this is all if map is 24. So if we make a new dungeon that we want the same item to be usable in, we would just copy down here, paste, and now we have, close that. This would be for our next map, and then we would have the ability to go in here. I guess these orbs actually don't need to be inside this. Yeah, now that I look at this, control, paste. That can be on the outside. So using this, we'll get rid of all our orbs, and then it will, if we're in map 24, set the orbs to this location and teleport us to the start of whatever 24 is. If we're in 25, it sets the orb locations and does this, and you just manually change this for each dungeon. And just like that, we should have a working reset button. So let's test that and see if something goes wrong. So first, okay, well, that was same as player, not below player, so I had to action button to pick it up. Might want to change that for the sake of consistency. Okay, so we teleported back. Well, let's pick up all these orbs. Let's pick up 3 of the orbs. And then we're going to go all the way out here, and we're going to drop dark red there, and then we're going to use our reset. And it should, yeah, all the orbs are back, and if we check our inventory, we have no orbs. Okay. So yeah, resetting the puzzle that way was super easy to implement as well. And yeah, I was just saying this should be below characters, just to be consistent with what we're doing with these orbs. So now I can step on it. If I'm facing it, action no longer works. I have to be stepping on it, and I use action to pick it up. And this way you could have one reset item that'll work for all of your orb mazes in the entire dungeon. Alright, so it was a little bit of an unscripted bonus at the end there. but I think it's a nice convenience feature to give to your player. Always be considerate of your players. Speaking of being considerate of your players, if you're using custom assets for these, you can probably make more visually distinct doors than what I've done here. But also something you might want to consider with these orbs is to have each color have a particular motif to it. So maybe red, you're going to have top right to bottom left, and you just have like diagonal lines going across it. Whereas blue might be horizontal, and then green might be vertical. Or you could do shapes, you know, star, triangle, square, whatever. Just having some sort of spatial distinction between them, so it's not just color and brightness. In fact, you could, if you don't like the idea of brightness, you could have red square gets you through this, and then red triangle gets you through this. You could do it that way as well. Another advantage of that, I think that doing the shape distinction is going to help all your players, so it's something to definitely do if you have the time or the resources to do it. But it'd also give an accessibility bonus for, you know, red-green colorblind people would be able to then do orb puzzles involving red and green orbs, because they would have some sort of physical difference in terms of their shape. So just another thing to consider. Anyway, that's going to be it for orb mazes. And we're going on to, I guess, it's going to be the vault codes next time. I will see you then.